our YouTube channel and share that with each of you either later today or on Monday. So we're going to go over a few things today. We're going to go through the Nevada 7.1 release, some exciting new beta opportunities. We'll look at Conga Action Grid, Conga Composer, redlining, and like I said, we'll leave time for questions. Your hosts today are Kyle Hagan and Mark Williams. And with that, I will go ahead and let you kick it off, Mark.
Thank you very much, Sienna. So we've done quite a bit with our the Conga Nevada 7.1 release, and that went out last Saturday. So I'm going to go over some of the more major things that we've done, some of the highlights of that release. Two of those things were the release of some beta modules, the analytics and clause management. And we'll get into both of those. Some of the other things we've done are setting up email distribution lists. You can set up like email groups, so it'll kind of facilitate the sending out of messages. We've also done a copy request and copy request types. And for those of you that are users of Nevada, that's basically geared towards facilitating your end users in generating new contract requests and as the contract admins in setting up your system and creating new request types. Clause management is, a lot of that is geared towards being able to reach into your document contents, see what's in your documents, and pull meaningful data out of those documents. We've also implemented a coterminous term type, and what that means is a sort of rolling down of contract statuses and expiration dates amongst your contract profiles. Both of those, actually all three of those things I've mentioned kind of speak towards something we're working towards in Nevada as a whole, and that's basically bringing about a greater ease of use, reducing the amount of clicks, and making life easier for those of you that are using the system. Some of the other things we've done are sort of expand on our contract flow functionality. That's going to be a big focus, not just in the 7.1 release, but in 7.2 and 8.0, and just going forward as a whole. It's something that we're putting a lot of focus on. So without further ado, I will hop into the demo and start showing some of the things that we've done in the 7.1 release. Now what you're looking at here is just the basic splash screen with some portlets that I've set up. It gives a little quicker, little bit better visibility into what's going on in my system. So this is all standard stuff. What I've done, you see all these tabs up here, is I've kind of preset everything up, so I'll just kind of flip through each bit and show it to you as we go along. So the first thing is analytics, and I've already set up this report on the back end. I've already basically run it a few times, but what we can do here is we can start to examine specific workflows and identify where some of our hang-ups are. So what this report is doing is it's looking into your system and saying, okay, how many individual days am I spending on specific workflows? And this one you can also take it down to workflow steps. So what you can do right here is say, okay, some of these workflows are taking significantly longer than others. Why is that? You can start to dive into your processes and try to figure out exactly why these are taking more time. And what I've done too is the actual name and the workflow step name, and I've color-coded all of these to say, okay, the ones that are red are taking more than 60 days. We then start to say, okay, why are these taking more than 60 days? That seems a little bit much. Anything less than, I believe it was 25, is marked in green, so that's a nice healthy time frame to be working in. Anything in yellow is in between that. So very quickly I can start to scroll through and get an idea of how long these individual things are taking. And I can start to demarcate them by company and by contract. And what else I've done too is you see the contract numbers and the company names are all kind of segregated out into a hyperlink here. So what I can do is I can click on, say, a company and pull up a completely different report. So drill from one report into another, and so on and so forth. So this is a contract history report. So I can go through and start to see what some of the older values and some of the newer values of the system are. And these crazy ones are the GIS fields, so segregating out specific areas on a map. So X out of that, and I also have some event reports here. And you can see for some of these, there's no actual events set up. But it shows you what we can start to do with these reports. We can kind of build out like a web, a network of reports that you can drill through to start to pull data out of your system to give you more meaningful results and see what is actually happening behind the scenes of your system. So moving forward, we'll take a quick look at the mail distribution list. And this is a very, very simple enhancement that that's really, I think, going to make life much easier for those that are sending out messages or sending out contracts for negotiation or whatnot. So what I've done here is in our admin section, I've set up a distribution list with these 3 people. And say these might be your external reviewers or maybe people within Novatus. Really, you can set that up however you want. But basically, like you would in Outlook or something like that, you're creating a group of people that are commonly going to be receiving messages or you're going to be sending things out to. So what this looks like, if I go back to our splash screen here, and I go to, say, this contract profile, I can scroll down to messaging, start up a new thread, and bring up my address book. So my distribution list is right here. So I can select that, and now any message that I send out is automatically going to go to all 3 of those people. So I'm going to say something like, please review, thank you, thank you, something like that. So send that out, and we can see that this, the recipients for those emails are all going to get that at the same time, and they can all respond in kind to this thread, and all of that will be kept on this contract profile. So like I said, it's a very, very simple, straightforward thing that we've implemented, but it was something we were getting a big ask for, and we made sure to emphasize that in our 7.1 release. And it, again, goes along with that saving clicks, saving time. So instead of having to pick those 3, those 4, those 5, however many people are on a distribution list, instead of picking them every single time for that message, you can just set up your distribution list on the back end and just send to that every time. So it's simple, easy, straightforward. So the next bit we've done kind of falls in line with that as well, and that's the copying of requests and request types. And I'll show off both because I know we had some questions about that last time. So here you can see I've got some requests that I've already made, and now I'm playing the part as a contract requester. So I've already got some in here that I've made. I've even made maybe like a template or something that I can draw from. So we added this action icon that just copy request. So I'll do this one that's already been accepted. And it'll bring up a new window that is a new request window. So I can go through here, and all the data from the older request is in here. All I might have to do is just tweak some of this. So maybe this is, a little different there. We'll change the term type. The document will stay the same, and the additional form, we'll change that too. So just a few quick tweaks of a request that I've already made, and I can just submit that straight away. So this really comes in handy for a lot of clients that are dealing with similar requests over time. Similar NDAs, similar MSAs. There's only a few tweaks being applied here and there. So it's one of those things that's going to make life easier for your end users, which ultimately is going to make life easier for you. Less questions you're getting from your pool of users and whatnot. Now, from an admin perspective, that's a little bit different. So we'll go into contract request types, and I have this MSA form here. So what I'll do is now just click this copy request form, go into my MSA, and all the data from that previous MSA is here. All the fields, all the configurations, everything. So when you're setting up a new system or adding a new request type, you can maybe just create 1 or 2 templates and then just start building from that. Now, you'll notice the only 2 things that need to be filled in are the request name and the request bundle name. And the reason we chose to do that is several areas of the system draw on this specific request name, like flow, and if you're using Sales Connect. So we wanted to make sure that as you're creating these new request types, you're not duplicating those names, and then when you go to set up different parts of your system, all of a sudden you have 10 different requests all the same name, and you're trying to go through and figure out which one is which. So everything's going to be there except for those request names. So go ahead and cancel out of that. The next bit is going to be clause management. And we've released this in beta. There's quite a bit that we want to do with this going forward. And right now, we as a product team are taking as much feedback as we can to really build out the most intelligent tool we can when it comes to clause management. So where we are now with that is, you see I've already uploaded a document to this profile. I've already marked it as a document type that needs to be analyzed. And I've already gone through and actually processed some clauses ahead of time. But I'll show you what that window looks like. So you can see, once I go in there, the actual language of the document is in here. So I can just go through and select my clause type. So maybe for this clause 4 here, I can say, all right, this is a 78% match to an authority clause type. So I'll go ahead and select that. And one thing that's interesting is this system will start to learn over time the more commonly used clause types that you bring into the system. So anything with an 80% match or greater will then be managed automatically. And where that intelligence comes in is, okay, you're managing these types more often, so we have a bigger, maybe say data set for those clause types. So over time, the system will recognize that, okay, these clause types are usually managed this way. So we'll just do that automatically. So the system will literally grow and learn over time. So we'll go ahead and cancel out of there. And once those clauses are managed, you can get some quick visibility into those here. Now, one interesting bit is you can start to see this column here, this standard column. That is looking for exact matches to clauses in your clause library. So you can start to have pre-approved language in the system that the contract clause table will then refer back to. So you can see this one here, this employment clause, actually exists in the clause library with that exact wording. So where you can really start to drive value is you can start to search through your document library and start to look for clauses that may or may not match what is already in your system. And one of the more immediate things that we've heard and we're working on now is start to run a comparison against those two. So that way, over time, you can start to see, all right, what terms am I negotiating and how am I negotiating those terms? So the first iteration of that is being able to run reports against that. So I'll go into reports. And I already have a fairly large report set up here, and it's basically looking for any non-standard language. So this one might take a little while to run, but I'll go ahead and get that going as an Excel report. And whenever it gets finished, we'll come back to it. I don't want to waste too much time just waiting for this report to run. So, over here. So the next bit that we've rolled out is this coterminous term type. And again, this comes down to facilitating ease of use. So you've noticed here, this is an attachment to this particular agreement. And actually, before I get into that, my report has run. So I'll go ahead and open up this real quick and just show you what it looks like once you've started to run this clause report. So we have our company name, our contract numbers, the document file name, some document information, some clause information, if it's the latest revision of that clause, and the actual text of the clauses themselves. So be able to pull out this language based on whatever search criteria you've defined. I'll go ahead and X out of that, and we'll come back to this coterminous term type. So this is a child contract to this contract right down here. And if we scroll down to our contract family, we can see sort of a structure built here. Now, both of these child contracts are set as coterminous. And if we'll take a look here, we have our date set as September 22nd with the status of active. Now, if I go up to my the overall parent contract, we can see the term type is fixed auto inactive with this date and this status. Now if I edit the contract and I say, you know what, this original expiration date is, let's say November 24th, and just to display how this works, I'm going to go ahead and move this to inactive. So I've changed the date and made this an inactive contract. And you know what, I'll actually change the notice period too. I don't know if we've done any work with that, but let's go ahead and save that. And we'll close the events, and actually we'll leave that open. It's actually an interesting bit of functionality. So now we've changed these dates, and I have to go back and inactivate this again. Hold on. Let me actually just move it to in process, so we skip that screen entirely. So either way, so we've updated this term and renewal section here. So let's start going down into the to these child contracts. So anything marked as coterminous now starts to match up. So we have our notice period, our notice date, all match up with the parent contract. And if I go to the third level down, and this one is also marked coterminous, those dates reflect here as well. So this will make life easier for anyone that's trying to make changes across an entire contract family. And instead of having to go through each contract bit by bit and changing these dates and changing these statuses, you can just change the one and have it all roll down. The last bit that I'm going to touch on in this demo, and mind you, we've done quite a bit of changing in 7.1. I'm only kind of touching on some of the more major bits, is some of the things we've done to flow, and that's to make flow a little more granular. So we've added an extra permission here and split this up. So we have an overall flow template admin, which can go in, create, edit, and delete these contract flow templates. We also have a flow admin, which is sort of like a step beneath that. So after the flow template admin has created these templates and allowed them to be run on certain contract profiles, the flow admin can then go in and make smaller changes on the contract level to say override a step, invalidate a flow, start a flow, stuff like that. And our flow templates are going to look something like this. So from the admin side, now we can start to get into these flow templates. And this is a very, very simple one that I built out from earlier demo that just takes an e-signature step, updates the contract, and then ends the flow. But as the flow template admin, I can get in here and make those changes. Now on the contract level, what this looks like is I'll just go into this one here, and I'll start this flow, that same flow we just looked at. Oh, just kidding. I need to actually, this flow is active here already. So I can override this step if I want to, and that ends the flow. So now that should be all done, and if I want to restart it, I should be able to do that. So there we go. So now the flow is restarted. So it gives me a little more control over who can do what in my system. And for our larger clients that have numerous admins, being able to break up these responsibilities and delegate these things out is going to make the overall contract manager's life easier. And that's again kind of what we're trying to drive towards, not just with the Novartis application, but as we're developing out Conga contracts on the Salesforce side, that's something we're driving towards as well, managing how many clicks it takes, managing our user experience to be more efficient and more effective. So that's all that I have. So I'm going to go ahead and pass this back to Sienna. And if you have any questions, go ahead and shoot them over, and we'll address them either later on in this webinar or via email later on. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Mark. As we mentioned earlier, we do have some great beta opportunities for Conga Novartis customers. If you are interested in being a beta customer for analytics or clause management, if you could email support@getconga.com, they will get your information and your interest and get you set up. So with that, I will pass it over to Kyle to talk a little bit about what is new in Composer.
Hey everybody, happy Friday. So I'm going to talk about Composer, Action Grid, and redlining. So Composer has a few cool new features that have been released in December. One of the main ones is that now we can now have a new destination type of OneDrive. So if you're using Microsoft 365 and you like to save things inside of your OneDrive or interact with your email and OneDrive at the same time, you can now set that destination to put documents that are generated from Composer into OneDrive. Another thing that we've developed here is the ability to increase our attachment capabilities. So now you see from a single merge we can have up to 150 attachments. So yeah, there's a lot more attachments we can put on merges, so keep that in mind. And we also now support signer groups inside of Adobe eSign, so that's a really powerful thing. It uses a lot of the Salesforce user groups that are already created, so you can just use those user groups as signer groups in Adobe Sign, which is a pretty powerful tool. With Action Grid, that's next.
Well, do you want to demo some Composer stuff?
I was going to do it all at once. I can flow the whole way.
All right.
With Action Grid, we have Quick Grids. Those were released last month, but we like to talk about them again. Quick Grids we've learned a lot building Action Grids for the last 2 years, and we've come up with some really cool template ideas for different new use cases. So Quick Grids are a way for us to share our knowledge of our tools with you and have it make it really easy to set up our tool with just a few clicks, and I'll show some of that later. One of the really powerful things we just finished developing in Action Grid is editing parental data. So normally inside of Salesforce, that's something you can't really do, but now you can actually edit parental data in Action Grid. So account fields on an opportunity, or campaign fields on a campaign member, some pretty cool stuff is available there. And we've had a lot of comments about our Save View functionality when it shifted around about half a year ago, and we've kind of come up with some new cool flow stuff for the Save View functionality and how that works. So finally, redlining. Really, really cool new feature with redlining that lets you open, edit, and save Word documents directly from Salesforce. So when you're doing that editing process, you can just stay on that record type, click our new edit button, and be able to actually edit that document inside of Salesforce, keeping your workflow going. We can actually now access all the redlining features from any kind of standard or custom Salesforce object, which is really powerful. So now you can manage your possibly negotiated proposals or anything like that off of an opportunity or any other kind of object that's in Salesforce. And we also added some functionality to make it easier to use redlining just upon install, doing a lot of the configuration for you. So without further ado, I'm going to get into a little flow of a demo. So I'm going to show you some cool stuff that we've done with our tools. So I'm going to start off with the Quick Grid setup. So you go to Action Grid Quick Start to show these. What we have here is we just kind of guide you through the process. Like, what do you want to do with Action Grid? So we can either use some of our previous wizards that we've had, using apps or list views or reports or learning your data, that kind of thing. But the real thing that shines here is the ease of setup with these Quick Grid templates. So if I click here, we're going to go into our, what kind of Action Grids are you setting up with team? And we have our use cases here: sales, case management, account management, and Salesforce admin. I'm going to go with the sales grid. This is going to show me basically this is going to be for pipeline management. So when I click here, we'll get an example of what kind of grid I'm about to make. And if I click install, we're going to pass through some windows. Sorry. There we go. And when we get done, it's going to let me go to the tab. So now I can click go to tab. It's going to take me directly to the grid I just built. So from here, I can now manage my pipeline when it loads. Sorry about the internet speed. So I can now see my leads, my opportunities, my accounts, and my tasks. So I'm going to click on my opportunities to show the next part of this flow. So I'm going to go into an area where I've built a view, my opportunities view, that uses parental fields. So right now on the right, I have all my opportunities that are all the opportunities that belong to me. I can now see that I have some parent fields on the right here. And let's say this company moved from Boulder to Denver. I can just actually change that here, if I can spell Denver correctly. Then you can see that all of the parent fields have changed for that account. So now that I've changed the Acme Widgets Inc. location to Denver, all of the other Acme widgets also changed, which is a pretty powerful thing. And that's really cool to be able to do that from here. Normally that's something that's locked out. So when I click Save, I'm able to then save that data inside of Salesforce, and it'll refresh the page, and you have that data now inside the system. That's a really cool ability there. As far as using the Composer from our tool, we can already do that, as we've said a lot of times before. You could use Conga Composer from here. But what we're going to do today is I'm going to show you some really cool stuff that we can do with regard to the OneDrive integration. So when we're on the opportunity page layout here, if we click this invoice to OneDrive, I can basically save a copy of this invoice to the OneDrive folder. So as I'm walking through here, it's going to go through the process, and again, pardon the internet speed. We're going to go through our normal type of Composer setup, loading Composer in Lightning. You know, and all this stuff does work in Classic too. Lightning and Classic, we try to keep ourselves as agnostic as possible with regard to what system you're using, so we can go through and be as efficient in any system we're in. Sorry, let me try that one more time. There we go. That looks better. So we're going, again, same thing you see, but now you see that merge in OneDrive is the option here, and you have the output option as OneDrive, right? And we can also save a copy to OneDrive as well if we want to, but we're going to just output there for now. So if I click merge in OneDrive, it's going to ask me for login to OneDrive. I'm going to click OK because I've already signed into this once. And let me try that one more time. Sorry about that. And it's going to start merging. What it's going to do now is it's going to take all the parameters I put in, create a file name, and actually just put that into my OneDrive when it's finished. It's going to take me to the opportunity page layout again when we're finished here. And then when I click on OneDrive, notice if I refresh this page, we'll see that file inside of my OneDrive account now. There you go. So Conga Invoice Opportunity OneDrive. So now you can save all your stuff there. We have the same features with the output file, pathway, and all that kind of stuff that we already have with Google Drive and Box accounts. So all that features and functionalities are the same as the OneDrive functionality for now. There we go. So the last thing I want to show here is that redlining tool again. So we're going to show redlining from a proposal inside of an opportunity right now. So what we're going to start with is I'm just going to send one of these proposals out for negotiation. This is something normally we only saw on the contracts object before. I click here, I get the normal screen that we see when we click send for negotiation from the contract area. So I'm going to add a recipient. Of course, it's going to be me because I'm the special person in this org, but it's going to be called Dennis. I'm going to use a pseudonym. So we're going to click a template, and you see at the bottom here we have this attachment, which is going to be that proposal I'm sending out. So in this case, this proposal has a few terms and conditions on it that I'm going to manipulate in the process. So that's why we're sending it out for proposal. We sent the proposal out. They said they wanted to change some stuff about it, so now we're starting the redlining negotiation process here. Click preview and send, and then I can send it right from Salesforce. All right, that's going to take me back to the opportunity out here, and you're going to see that on my email now I have, on behalf of Conga, a contract to send. And so now I'm sitting in the person from I'm the customer now, or I'm the legal team from the customer side, and now I'm going to take a look at this proposal and make sure it's exactly what I want to see. But I'm going to download that for now so I can actually manipulate it. I'm going to try it down. There we go. And so now I'm in Office. You can see all my notes. I'm going to enable editing. And I can look through here. I can change names. Maybe it's not Michael. It's supposed to be Dennis, right? I can go down and look at the contracts here, the terms and conditions here. There's no SaaS here. This is all just a product, so we don't really need a SaaS section. And let's say I want to have 45-day payment fees, so or payment time terms. 40. So now on this end, I can just save this here. And then let me try and make sure that I did it. Okay. What I can do then is I can go back to my email. I can just reply here, put that attachment inside of here. And now when I send this back to Salesforce, it's going to have a new version inside of that opportunity object. So when we come back here, what we can do is if I go view red lines, let me refresh this page real quick just to be sure. And when I click view red lines, we'll be able to see the versioning, so we can actually see what's going on with regard to what changed from the version I sent out. So I click view red lines. And with a little bit of time, we can actually see that I have versions 4 and 5 here. I've sent this out a few times before. You can see the changes in line. So I changed the name up top here. And if you scroll down to the bottom, you can see the changes I made with regard to the terms and conditions. But something about that's not right. I actually like the 35 days, so I'm not going to change. I'm going to change it back. I can actually click Edit Latest and actually start editing that document inside of my own Word program again, right? So, sorry, up here. There we go. Oops. There we go. That's what I was waiting for. So now I can actually edit this here. Pardon the internet speeds. I can actually edit this here and see I already edited some of it. But you can see below now that I'm going to do this, I'm going to change this back to 35 because I'm persnickety like that. And then when I click Save here, It's going to, say, hey, do you want to do all this stuff? It's going to walk me through the save changes, and when I go back into Salesforce, I'll be able to have another version here that's been saved. There you go, 5 and 6, and there's things that have changed. So I changed this back to 35. So there you go. Those are kind of some new features. Redlining is becoming a pretty powerful tool now with the ability to edit from inside of Salesforce without ever having to leave Salesforce using the same programs we use to edit documents right now. Action grids becoming more usable from the front end and letting you do things that Salesforce has limitations on. And Composer is just putting out new options for output all the time. So yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Kyle. So for those who are interested in seeing all of our release notes, they can be found in the same place all the time, which is at support.getconga.com/release notes. Everything here is always up to date, so if you want any past release notes and as they come out, this is the place to go. And with that, we will go ahead and open it up for questions. It does look like we have some that have come in. So you do have a little bit of time. Please feel free to reach out. The first one, what will the default setting for the new Flow Admin and Flow Template Admin be for people that had Flow Admin previously or previous to 7.1? So Mark, I think that one's for you. There you go.
Yeah, that is sorry, I was on mute. That is an outstanding question. I'm gonna have to look into that a little bit. My initial thoughts are, if you had the one permission checked, the new functionality will be, if you had that one check, now you have both. So it might. I'll have to check with QA about that. Sienna, could you do me a favor and just take down that email address so I can get back to?
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep, Greg, we will get back to you on those answers. Next question I can answer around Action Grid. So the Action Grid, the question is, when will this be released into production? The quick grids are available now. The others will be pushed into production on the 13th, I believe. It's either the 12th or 13th. It is available on the App Exchange right now, though, if you wanted the latest today. If there are not any more questions, we will go ahead and wrap this up. Greg, we will get back to you on yours. As always, if you have questions that you think of after this, please reach out to your account executive, or feel free to just reply to the webinar email that you'll get with a follow-up that'll have the video link. Feel free to reach out to us that way, or at support.getconga.com. Thanks, everyone.